We're not surprised by the statements, and the American people should rest assured that we are fully prepared. We need to ensure we have a credible nuclear deterrent, and we are confident that we're prepared to do, and we're prepared to defend this nation no matter what.
I think Putin's address is linked to the sanctions. They're threatening us and we must fight back somehow. I think that's the reason for the military message. Even if we have trouble in the country, we have good weapons.
I'd like to have heard about the economy. That's our main problem here. Military force has never been a problem for Russia, as far as I know.
For more on Putin's strong warning to the U.S., Walter Zaryckyj is Executive Director of the Center for U.S.-Ukrainian Relations. He joins us now. Mr. Zaryckyj, what do we know about the capacities and capabilities of these weapons?
There is, Putin has already suggested, about 6 months ago, that he had the weapons, and that he had weapons that could penetrate our missile defenses. This is what he's really talking about: is weapons capable of penetrating U.S. defenses. And earlier on, we had seen that he has things like the Iskanders, short-range cruise missiles capable of flying to some of the European centers rather quickly before anybody can sort of get up and strike. In fact, a lot of people are suggesting at the time that that he's breaking with the intermediate rocket forces treaty that was signed by Reagan and Gorbachev. He also has reportedly had a nuclear sub-drone that can strike from any distance. That is on paper. But these two reports, the reports of two new generations, is troubling because this is a different kettle of fish. One form of cruise missile that they're suggesting is supposed to be stealthy, very long range, nuclear powered, which means it doesn't need refueling, which means it can strike anywhere in the world. And it's low flying, which means that it's tough to detect. That's one. And then the second is what he calls the hypersonic cruise missile, which flies at several paces beyond the speed of sound, and is troubling.
So some U.S. analysts were suggesting today that the U.S. has been able to observe tests of some of these missiles, and that these tests have not been successful, that the missiles have crashed, that Putin was today exaggerating the capability and perhaps exaggerating the point in development where this missile program is.
My suspicion is that the truth lies somewhere in between. We know that he's capable of launching off smaller ships from the Caspian Sea into Syria and striking in Syria. I think that's where he was showing off, that he has some of that capability.
And that's something that the Russian military has done.
Right, and has already done. Whether that translates into something larger, yes, we've been monitoring the tests, and we've noticed that that they don't, what the very new generation tests or tests of those weapons is not going off as well. But to say that there is no threat, I'm not sure, because he is capable of delivering missiles to places where he wants to.
Why would Russia focus, at a time when their economy is struggling and there is economic hardship, why would Russia focus the kinds of government funds on programs like this when there clearly are so many other needs?
He does not, his rule is not based on projection of economic strength, it's based on projection of military strength.
So this speaks directly to the Russian psyche.
And directly to the Russian psyche. You're safe under my rule, nobody will trouble you under my rule, our borders may in fact even expand under my rule, Russia will be great again. And in effect, he's been preaching that for a good 15, 20 years. He did say 3 years ago that the greatest mistake of all, or the greatest tragedy of all in the 20th century was the Soviet Union fell, which was the much larger.
Which is a much larger
entity. So yeah, I mean, he's looking for that.
Is he prepared to risk a new Cold War or even a deepening of a Cold War?
Sad to say, and that's a question that's a very good question. he might, if he is that old-style authoritarian or even totalitarian leader, or potentially that we saw in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. The Hitlers, the Mussolinis, the Stalins.
The forced projection, yes.
Right, so where forced projection is part of the whole process. In fact, even telling the great lie, even if they don't have that missiles, but they threaten that, that's a part of hybrid warfare. They keep you off balance because they show that they can launch missiles. Are they ready to launch the big ones? Are they fooling us? Are they creating Potemkin villages? All of that is part of the psychological war that he's playing with us. We know that he's doing because he's doing it with our election and everything else. He's playing on several levels.
So in Putin's mind, in developing these weapons, who does he see as the enemy?
Sad to say, this is one of those people in our universities are saying Western Civ is not a term that should really be used as often as it used to be. But I think that the Euro-Atlantic world, the advanced democratic world, threatens him and his style of rule. It threatens any of those that associate with him. We're seeing that in China. We're seeing that in North Korea. We're seeing it in Turkey, which is that used to belong to the Euro-Atlantic sort of
sphere, yes.
Sphere, yeah. Erdogan. A new kind of leader has emerged now.
What does this mean if indeed these weapon systems are capable of penetrating U.S. defenses or entering into U.S. territory without being detected? What does this mean first for American perceptions of safety and security, and second for global stability?
Well, it means the reorientation has to be happening. Whatever the politics are in Washington, left or right, and so on and so forth, in a bipartisan way, I think all of us have got to now consider that near-peer competitors or peer competitors like Russia and China are more threatening for our existence than would be something like ISIS or Taliban or the old Al-Qaeda, because they truly can take out our cities in the most devastating way. So.
Does the U.S. have comparable weapons? Is the U.S. working on weapons that would be comparable to these?
For 20 years, we thought we had a peace dividend. We really, in some ways, whether it was right or left.
This is the post-Reagan-Gorbachev era.
Absolutely right. We thought
where arms reduction
absolutely
reduced the numbers.
The fact that the Soviet Union basically fell apart peacefully, and we thought that we were in a new world order. The fact is, the last 25 years, we thought we were going to sort of see eternal, eternal peace. But the fact is that we've returned back to near-competitor competition, and we're not that prepared for it.
Walter Zaryckyj, thanks so much for coming in. Thank you.